Hello, hello. What is up? What is good? Is chapter 1167 of One Piece. Feels like I just read one because I did just read one. So very excited to get to another one. The cover page is adorable here, taking us back to Windmill Village, the place where Nami was raised up along with Nojiko, her sister. Gen, the town sheriff, I think he was. I don't really know what exactly his job was. Foreman or something? Chief? But whatever. They were watching a cat trying to steal a book. The Big Book of Fish. In the back, the bookseller is chasing after him. Very funny, very funny. His little apron says, book. Shocker, I know. But yeah, very cute, very nice little slice of life. I like that a lot of these early islands had that kind of like semi-tropical Caribbean sort of vibe, which we see here with the palm trees, and somebody over there is in a shirt with hibiscus on it. Lovely. Never want to forget our OG East Blue heroes. Okay, so this chapter's title is Ida's Sons. Ida, Oda. Who is Ida? I don't recall. It sounds familiar, but you know, it's a fairly common name. Who knows? Let's just plunge into it. I don't know if I have too much to anticipate. It's the same stuff I've been saying for months now of like, I don't know where the hell this is going. But eventually we have to get back to Loki's story. and this could be the chapter where we really do. Alright, so now we've leapt ahead 5 years in time. From 5 years after the God Valley incident. 33 years ago. Good to know, good to know. Good to keep that stuff in track. Whoa. Hearing rumors about the Florian Triangle. We have Morgan's here interviewing people. We have in Impel Down a conversation about a ship being wrecked by a human being. Is this hyping up San Juan battleship? the gigantic man that was busted out of Impel Down and has now joined Blackbeard's crew. I say this because they show the shot of Impel Down. It feels like they're trying to make you remember Impel Down a little bit. At the same time, I don't think he was hanging out in the Florian Triangle. It could be referring to oars. Oh, no. I think there's any fish worth catching out there, we don't go near it. Never mind. So this isn't happening in the Florian Triangle. Never mind. If only I had the reading fruit, the devil fruit that makes you able to read before you start yapping. Oh my god. Okay. So it's kind of all over the place, I think, is what we're meant to see. This gigantic figure walking in the ocean. Now this could be Sanon battleship. This could be one of the super ancient giants. Or it could be, like, Harold himself wandering in despair in the last 5 years because of his rejection by the world government, by the demonification of Emu. Now he's a wandering demon giant. Yeah. At this time, the countries of the Grand Line were abuzz with a frightening rumor, a tale of a lurking monster that struck its targets, mostly pirate ships from the deeper mists out at sea. Truth, the monster was Harold. To people on the sea who had never seen a giant before, the experience was pure terror. Part of a sworn oath of 1,000-year atonement, Harold assisted the Navy's efforts to uphold order. So he just became... It doesn't even look like he's demonified. It doesn't even look like Emu got to him with the reversey. Instead, it's his own volition, his own free will. He's been won over to the cause. He loves Big Brother. And to atone for the sins of the giants, yes, he is chopping pirate ships in half. This is an awesome, awesome image here. Holy crap. With the scars of his skull ripping out his horns. Meanwhile, the pirates who scattered to the winds after God Valley would grow in power over the next decade or two until they reached their primes and became the faces of their era. All the while, as pirates around them focused on claiming territory, one crew achieved the seemingly impossible and succeeded in circumnavigating the globe. The crew, led by the king of pirates, Gold Roger. When he was captured sometime later and publicly executed, the world government assumed it would serve a demonstration of their strength. However, and here we're going to turn the page and we're going to see the very first page of One Piece yet again. A full circle moment where he declares that his treasure is there for the taking, kicking off the golden age of piracy. And I think I really do fully understand that scene a lot better now. Because it's clear to me that in the age of rocks, and then in the subsequent rising of other pirate crews, all the way up until the execution of Gold Roger, piracy was like a lot more niche. It was a lot more seldomly done. I think it had a much worse reputation. It seems like there is more of a division between the pirate class and civilians. Whereas in the era of Luffy, right from the start of the story, it seems like pirate crews are a lot more commonplace. The idea of a pirate crew coming to rest in Luffy's village, which I realize now is the actual Windmill Village. Nami's village is something else. I got mixed up with the pinwheel that Gen wears. Her village is called something else. But at any rate, yeah, the idea of Shanks' crew being there wasn't seen as some crazy anomaly or something. All over, it seems like tons and tons of small-time pirates were starting up with varying degrees of violence and ambition and whatever. We really get the sense that this was now the era where pirates saturated the landscape, and that's the setting on which One Piece rests, that they're always running into other pirate crews, and there's dozens of infamous crews of the era, and this whole worst generation I think is kind of based around this idea that, okay, yeah, before we had like Rocks, and Rocks was like this menace, and we had Roger, and Roger was such a public figure, such a controversial figure. But now we've got like a dozen crews just like plowing through the world. It's a whole different sort of scale. I think that's so cool that we've just finally now been able to truly reckon with what that means, the golden age of piracy. I love this shot of the Roger pirates too, through reputation and through the belovedness of Shanks as a character and Buggy as a character and the big impact that Raleigh and Scopper have now had. I love these guys. It's such a joy to like really see them. There's Crocus, of course, in the back there too. The doctor that they met so early on to their journey. I think it's amazing. Again, just the way that these characters' reputations have been woven through the story since the very first chapter, and now we see the whole crew partying because they've made it to the edge of the earth. They've circumnavigated the globe. They've done what thought was impossible. And now we get to like revel with them. We know these people now. They've become intimate to us after being subsequent to so many rumors throughout the era. I think it's cool too that this page really establishes that like Roger within the pirates was a bit of an iconoclast, that everybody else is just trying to create empires and to create big zones of territory that they can reign over, all these different islands and stuff. And Roger seems to be kind of like, nah, fuck that. I just want to get to the end of the Grand Line. I just want to keep sailing forward. We're not going to make outposts. We're not going to make all these division crews and armadas. We're not going to try to rule over any one spot. Just like Luffy, he sees this as an exercise in freedom. And it seems like the other pirates just thought that was so unfeasible, so unrealistic, and probably didn't really have that much benefit. Like, what did that give Roger exactly? They call him the King of Pirates. They acknowledge that he was the one to circumnavigate the globe. But, you know, Big Mom has this entire country to herself that she reigns over with unfathomable wealth and food and a standing army and all these schemes. And Kaido is getting similar schemes going, and Whitebeard is finally building his gigantic family that he has always wanted and protecting all of these places that are important to him. I think they're kind of like, all right, wow, good on you. Okay. And I think this is kind of explains, like, how did Roger do that when there were so many other super powerful, ambitious pirates lurking in that era? You know, why is it that he never fought Kaido to the bitter end when, you know, obviously they weren't buds? Why did he only kind of like duel with Whitebeard and they didn't have this savage ordeal or anything? I think it's because they all had sort of like different goals, and that's why it's so significant that in the modern era, people like Shanks and Blackbeard are going, okay, it's time to sail to the One Piece. Like, we've gotten to the point where that's the final quest. It's kind of like playing an RPG, and a bunch of these guys are like doing side quests. They're trying to get their stats up. They're trying to build out their party. And Roger is the only one that's like, nah, we're going to speedrun the final boss. And now it's in the present day, it's kind of like more crews are like, okay, we're high enough level now, we can go tackle the final boss. But Luffy's also just speedrunning it. I think that's why it's so significant when Luffy says stuff like the great moment in Sabaody, where for the first time he's with other pirate captains that he can really recognize are on his level and have the same sort of reputation as him and have been having the same kind of adventure as him and building up this sort of reputation. And he goes, well, I'm going to be the one that finds the One Piece, though. And they're like appalled because they're kind of like, why are you saying, okay, now I'm going to go like fight the Demon Lord, right? Like, what? It just, I can tell now how nonsensical of a statement that seems to them. Because it's like, that shouldn't even be your priority. Like, what do you mean you set out to sea to do that? That's something we do at level 99. It's like encountering a Pokemon trainer on, like, they're pretty far into the game. They're at, let's say, Silurian City. No, further than that. They're at Saffron City. And they're like, okay, well, you guys are all vying to be the champion and tackle the Elite Four, but I'm going to be the one that catches Arceus. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? Bro, we're in Kanto. Okay. I've gushed about this page enough. This is crazy. You know, actually, I had a dream about reading this new chapter last night, and that it turned out to be a crossover with City the Animation, and that Wako was actually responsible for many of the deeds in One Piece. And I remember being like, this is the craziest chapter ever. But no. Anyways, okay. This is still a very crazy chapter. There, indeed, we see the execution of Roger that kickstarts the entire series. To counteract the arrival of the unforeseen great era of piracy, Navy headquarters recruited over a dozen giants from various regions in hopes of bolstering their ranks. Seen these guys before: John Giant, A very early character introduced that we didn't really grasp. Wow, he's literally a giant until much later. We've seen a few of these other giants too in such scenes. There's the woman giant in the back there that we saw during Marineford. Harold, meanwhile, who had been faithfully serving as a tool of the Navy, was finally given official access to the Holy Land this year. Okay. Here he is in Mary Joie. I wanted as a slave. These fucking people, man. You are now a trusted weapon of the Holy Knights of God, a devoted blade. Okay. This is... Wow, okay. There's a lot going on here. This is the tattoo that other Holy Knights have. This is the tattoo that people are speculating that Shanks deliberately got rid of in what would be an absolutely crazy moment of, like, pseudo-retconning of why did Shanks, one of the most powerful men in the world, get his arm bitten off by a bog-level Neptunian Sea King guy. It's to get rid of a tattoo that he was given at birth, which I don't know if I believe that anymore, because it doesn't really make sense that they were tattooing that newborn baby in the middle of God's Valley during the hunting incident, but whatever. We also know, yeah, so the Shallows Covenant is a mere trace of the bond. I think that's just a tattoo. The Depths Covenant and Abyssal Covenant, this is cool, this is the stages of the ocean depths, are reserved for only 13 exclusive individuals who can enter their contract with the true God. And that's Emu. That's Emu. And I think it's these covenants that let them warp. I think that's what is being activated when they go from summoning circle to summoning circle. Okay. The day should come that you are made a proper knight, then you will know the truth in the depths of the world. Is that when Elbath will be allowed to join the government? They're giving him more and telling him more than I thought. They're actually giving him some sense of power and status, which surprises me. But it makes sense. It's quite shrewd of them, you know. They know exactly how much line to feed him to allow him to wield the most agency and power and impact on their behalf. But then, you know, they're always readying the rug pull in order to, you know, continue to string him along, literally string him along with this leash that feels like an ornament. And they give him just long enough of a leash, you know. Of course, Harold, it will be announced to the world, and you will be welcomed. Grateful for this honor, I'll do anything you ask me. This is fucked up. Really fucked up. Meanwhile, there's St. Garling. Shangara, the Knight's Temple, the land of the gods. I see a building in the background there that one day Luffy is gonna blow the fuck up. He's gonna knock that whole thing down, man. Like Solomon knocking down the pillars of the temple. It's gonna kick ass. There's, of course, Shanks' brother. Shamrock. I was like, Clover? No, Shamrock. Can the King of Elbaf actually take orders? Where does my command? Call if you need to keep a long-distance transponder sail on your person. Free to visit the lower world, but you not speak a word of what goes on here. Okay. Okay. Alright. He goes to hang out with Neptune. Love this guy. Haven't seen him in a while. Lovely, lovely fella. Down in the Fishman Kingdom. This is now 20 years ago. So 13 years after the scenes we were just witnessing. No, I doubt very much your son is some sort of demon child. Can he possibly be worse than you were? Fortune teller told me I would receive a daughter 4 years from now. That's Shirahoshi. I can betroth Loki to my daughter. Oh. Scheming. The scheming of kings. I don't need to get into the ethics of arranged marriage, but, you know, it's a little fucked up, but whatever. Not talking about any ordinary mermaid. Might be born with wild, disruptive powers. Match made in heaven. She will not be Shaggy. There's the goldfish princess. Now we're in the owl library. This is a real barrage of scenes, but they're all pretty weighty, man. Like, it's hard for me to really appreciate it at the same time that I think that makes me appreciate it so profoundly. I was reading Fishman Island when I first started university. When I was working my first job, I was reading the chapters that introduced these characters. And now I'm like 5 jobs into my career. And I'm like a full-on proper adult. And it's like, my knowledge of the series is so intellectualized, I guess, from thinking about it and rereading portions and speculating and talking to people about it and appreciating it, that it doesn't feel like it was so long ago that I actually read those chapters. And I almost have to like take a step back and just think about my life in the context of reading One Piece. Just sounds silly, but like really, when I think about it, when I think about, you know, meeting Shirahoshi at that young age, and now it's crazy. It's actually so crazy. And seeing Saul opening a school here. Ah, man. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay. This is when Fisher Tiger escapes slavery. Another famous moment. Oh, shit. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Is this either 15 years ago? Okay. So this is... Is this Shanks, who we've seen before, can very casually infiltrate Marijois? We saw him just go hang out with the Gorosei that one time. Again, in a moment that like took a long time to understand. It's I love these things in One Piece. It happens pretty often where it's like there's a scene early on that you kind of just like accept at face value that, wow, Shanks is such a notable pirate, he can have an audience with the highest authority in the world. And you're like, oh, okay, that really speaks to Shanks's gravitas. And then you learn a lot more about like the structure of the world government and a lot more about Shanks's position in the world. And you're like, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense. How did he get in there without it like kickstarting like a gigantic international incident and requiring like a full-on war response? And you're like, is that like a retcon? Did Oda change his mind? And maybe he did. But then he explains it again. Oh, Shanks actually has the blood of nobility. He's brothers with a holy knight. He's the son of a holy knight. Somehow he leveraged that to go get this exclusive audience. You're like, oh, wow, it makes sense again. That's what a feat of storytelling, man. Okay, so this is either Shanks or Shamrock. It's either Shanks again being capable of infiltrating Marijois casually, going here perhaps deliberately to assist the slave rebellion that he knows about through, I don't know, whatever channels. Or this could be our first indication that Shamrock is actually a good guy. And you know what? I could see it happening. I think we need, when we get into the endgame of endgames, it's going to be a lot of surprise betrayals in either direction. Because Oda has sort of like hinted at this as being a plot element before. I think it's a great way to have big surprises, cliffhangers, mysteries within arcs that I think otherwise are going to be just like very fighting focused, you know. I'm pretty sure that Aokiji is going to betray Blackbeard, you know, things like that. Moreover, Shamrock showed up on Elbaf, and sure, he gave his approval of the atrocities committed there after, but he didn't actually do any of the atrocities himself. And you might say, oh, that's like a moot point when it comes to the morality. He sure signed off on it. But when it comes to actual characterization, that if later we're going to be like cheering for Shamrock and he's a good guy, then having him personally try to execute children makes that a lot harder than if he just warps out of there before all that heinous bullshit starts. You know? And it's that level of psychology that I think consistently Oda understands and operates on. That, you know, in the same vein, like Robin eventually becomes a good guy. Robin was on the bad guy's side while Crocodile was doing all sorts of heinous stuff. You could tisk her for that. You know, what does that say about your innermost morality, that you were okay with Crocodile orchestrating a famine because you had your own ulterior motives and stuff, and ultimately you betrayed him. But she personally doesn't really do that much bad stuff. We don't have to see her personally do much besides, you know, try to break Pell's back at one point. She doesn't commit any insane atrocities that we have to witness and then kind of have that visually, unless I'm forgetting something. But if I manage to forget something, that almost proves the point in its own way. Okay, anyways, okay, so what's going on here? Fisher Tiger freed, starts setting off bombs in the armory. This is what frees the Pirate Empress. Yup. Koala freed as well. Yup. Caused by the future captain of the Sun Pirate, Fisher Tiger was known as the ransacking of Sacred Marijois. See, I like this, but it does, in a sense, kind of like neuter Fisher Tigers. Like, okay, I thought it was quite profound. This whole idea that, like, Fisher Tiger was built up as a mythological figure that climbed the red line and just busted into Marijois and freed everyone. And then later we find out, no, he was actually a slave himself, but he orchestrated this rebellion of slaves. And it's like, we didn't want to have a hero that was a slave. I felt like that was quite an interesting story and had quite a good message there, that in the end, you know, it actually makes his deeds all the more heroic and all the more inspirational, that he was himself fallible, that he wasn't some invincible titan, but that he was also captured and sold into slavery, but was still able to rise up against his oppressors. And this further explaining, I don't think does much service to that he also got help. that who knows if he would have been able to have anywhere near this effect were it not for someone else breaking his chains and directing him to the armory. I don't know. They're making Shanks or Shamrock, whoever that was. Probably Shanks, really, but it's interesting to consider maybe it was Shamrock. Into kind of like a John Brown figure, you know? Which is, it's just cool as well, but yeah. I think at the end of the day, though, it's like, the emphasis here is that Fisher Tiger, maybe he had some assistance, looks like he had some assistance. Still very brave, still very, very strong, still, you know, totally selfless, that he put his own life and freedom back on the line to save others and ransack Marijois. I don't know. It's interesting. Okay. There's a lot in this fucking chapter, man. It's quite the night. We're thinking someone on our side might have opened up the armory to them, so we're looking for that rat now. Let me to introduce you. This is Shanks. Oh, shit. Whoa. Wow, okay. So it definitely was Shanks. And this is like Shanks was actually... He had a period after Roger died, before he started his own crew, where, for a lark, I don't know, maybe he was in contact with the revolutionaries. Maybe this is just his own personal morality. Who knows? But he decided to infiltrate Marijois, maybe to learn more, maybe to figure out the answers to the questions that were raised by his journey to Raftel, maybe to try to correct these injustices, maybe all of the above, where he decided to pretend to be sincere about this. And acts like a gigantic jackass, which is in character for the role he's pretending to be. If entered into a Depths Covenant, he'll be an instant boost likely on the level of Shamrocks. Okay, so it does look like, yeah, he did get the Depths Covenant tattoo. And that's why he let his arm get ripped off. And I'm like, this is maybe a little much. Oda, like, really being like, I'm gonna make it all make sense. We're going back to chapter 1 and explaining everything that's inconsistent with chapter 1167. That's like, nobody asked you to do that, man. But I don't hate it either. Like, I think it removes a little bit of the iconicness, which is that it feels like Shanks bet his arm on a future era, when really it was like a mutually beneficial thing, maybe, that removed some control they had over him or something. At the same time, though, it doesn't seem like he was under control. I think more it was still a symbolic act where he was like, okay, I got this as part of my long-term scheme. I cast aside my dignity and played the role of this noble in order to get this power, which then I use to various ends, such as helping Fisher Tiger. Now I see Luffy, and somehow I know this kid is Joy Boy. This kid is Nika. This kid is the prophesized one that's gonna rise up as our new god and battle the bad god. I think he, like, understood all of that, even though maybe some of his actions in the first chapter don't really support that. We're probably gonna find out that he let Luffy eat the Nika fruit. You know, whatever. We'll get to all that. So he's like, I don't need this anymore. I have such faith in Luffy. I'm gonna let this shit go. That's gonna be my new plan. I'm putting it all on Luffy. And you know what? That's kind of fine, because that's what it's always been. That's what he says when somebody asks him what happened to your arm. I bet it on a new era. Anyways. Whatever. We're not gonna deal with all of that right now, but that seems like that's the direction it's going. That everything in chapter 1 was like foretold. Shanks showing up with that devil fruit and letting Luffy eat it, and then conveniently finding a reason to lose the arm with the Depth Covenant tattooed on it. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, and here's the brothers. Tell me more about the Holy Land. I want to be the hero that captures the one responsible for the attack. Any clues? Yeah, it's definitely Shanks. I think we can confirm it because they have their swords on different sides. And here, let's see. He's looking at the camera. Sword is on his left. Looking at the camera, sword is on his left. Okay. So Shamrock, TBD. I'm not ready to say he's never gonna betray, he's never gonna switch sides. But whatever. Still time to do this once your wound is healed. Don't know how it feels to learn you've wasted 24 years of your life. I always knew I was different from others. I hated everything down there. Yeah. No way, no way. But this is really fucking with Harold, isn't it? I like that these handsome twin brothers have a fan base, it seems. You can see women squealing in the streets as they walk past. But yeah, Harold, I think, is maybe having second thoughts because he sees here something that he really respected. You know, he became this beautiful brotherhood with rocks. He called him his closest friend. He seemed to really understand the life of pirates. He had contact with all these other crews. He had met Shanks probably several times while he was with Roger's crew. You know, since he was a little itty-bitty baby. So now I think Harold is really understanding, like, no. They don't just want my strength. They want to, like, buck break me. They want to, like, completely destroy who I am as a person. He's seeing Shanks and being like, oh my god, is that going to be me decrying everything I once loved? Okay. Meanwhile, in Fisherman Village. Okay. Trying to get Ida healthy. She's getting sicker and sicker. Get better on my own. Harold would be heartbroken if he sees you like this. I love this character design of this funny little giant on the left here. Looks like a character from Final Fantasy VI. What Harold does each time he comes home, he visits all the elders and asks to make you his true wife. Prefer running that little bar and meeting all those sailors from far off lands. Makes me feel like I'm helping Harold out in my own little way. Yeah, which is definitely true. That becomes the new entry point of Elbaf. That becomes their first experience with the land of the giants. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna end well. Also, close up here of the giant sword sticking through Elbaf. Still a lot we don't know about this place. Who the heck was swinging around that giant sword? Hey, outsider hag. Alright. Loki helping out in his own callous, bratty way. Still the same impotent brat inside. Only one that can tame that little beast. Hadrogen out searching for a doctor. Yeah. Says before they had Gerd. Gerd is the doctor? But isn't that Gerd in the bottom left? Who was their doctor? I guess they're looking for a doctor that's better than the doctors they have. So better than Gerd. Whatever ailment has befallen Ida. Both your sons have a lot of love for you. Oh, boy. Oh. Oh, boy. Okay. Okay. All right. And this is when... I like this. I like this so much. Because yeah, I've been saying this from the very start that they said Loki rampaged and destroyed villages across Elbaf, but they didn't show it. They didn't show it. They just said that's the story. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but it's going to be... There's a context we're missing. He destroyed the village because they were trying to kill Ida. Trying to kill the only kind mother he's ever known. Oh, boy. So yes, this is the start of Loki's infamous rampages. He annihilates this village. The only mother I have. And now we get into the meat of this mysterious family drama in Elbaf. Okay. Freaking crazy ass chapter, man. I mean, so much happens in this. Oh my god. We return to the very first chapter once again. There's like too much to say. We gotta just plunge ahead, man. Now I kind of know where it's going. After this insane montage across the entire history of the series. This is the sort of chapter that I think is like unwritable in anything else. You know? Maybe in some insanely long, like, sci-fi fantasy novel series or something. Could they pull off this kind of, like, montaging. But I think even then, it's, like, something kind of unique to manga. Being able to have this, like, literal sense of, like, a collage through history. And to kind of reintroduce a character like Neptune. And you just see him there. You just see him there. If this was a novel, it would be like... Then we cut, even saying then we cut, I think is cheating a little. But then, you know, you would say, next scene, 20 years ago, Fishman Island, Ryugu Kingdom, Harold throws back a gigantic mug of ale. Who accompanies him is none other than a man with copious, curly chest hair and a bushy flowing beard and flowing locks. Upon his head is the golden crown of the Fishman people. Indeed, it is none other than King Neptune, whom we haven't seen since Luffy himself had his adventure in Fishman Island. Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, they would have to, like, build up this scene in our mind's eye. And that would be great and all. But manga has this, like, immediacy. That we're just like, oh shit, it's that motherfucker. You know? Like, Saul appearing again. To say the seeing the execution platform of Roger again. That scene that appears in the very first page of the first chapter. It's like duplicated here. It's like the same framing, the same scene. And there's no way to convey that in a non-visual language, right? Like, there may be, but it would be in like a tricky, clever way. Whereas again, here, this has the immediacy. This has the obviousness of it. Whereas to replicate like the language or something that was used in the very first page of the very first book's description, and then to have it 87 volumes later, it would feel much more like a trick or something to cotton onto. Whereas here, I think this is obvious to, like, literally any reader. I don't think this is me being, like, a Giga fan. I think anyone who has seen One Piece, this shot is quite iconic and engraved in their brain. If you watch the anime, they show it to you in, like, every single episode, right? Or is that only when they need to pad for time? I don't know. I can't say too much. It's crazy. It's crazy what's going on here. Like, how the fuck did this happen, man? Like, if One Piece wasn't the way it was, I don't think I would be reading manga. I don't think I would be anywhere near the person that I am. It's something that has, like, been with me more consistently than any other thing in my life. And to have these moments where, like, I don't know, I'm going, like, really existential here. It feels like I'm watching, like, a child of mine. It's like I had this, like, kid that's now, like, 20 years old. So that's about as long as I've been reading One Piece. Nah, it's longer than that. This kid is 20... Wow, like, this kid is, like, 25 years old. And now the kid is, like, reminiscing with me and telling me things about their childhood. And being like, hey, you remember like the day I was born? You know, Let me tell you some more about the day I was born. Like, I don't think that it's an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration analogy, but like, man, and we're gonna see it through to the end. You and me, whoever's watching this, I don't know who's watching this. Maybe nobody's watching this, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna see it through to the end. We're gonna read the last chapter of One Piece. Isn't that amazing? It's pretty fucking amazing. Okay. I gotta go shower. I gotta do some stuff. But man, all right. See ya.